While obviously I wasn't around when the Streets of Rage games were coming out on the Sega Genesis, I stumbled across them later on, and boy, are they fun, especially the second one. And I remember making a list, top 10 franchises that are never coming back. One of them was Streets of Rage. A few months later, Streets of Rage 4 was announced. 2 years later, and I'm finally playing Streets of Goddamn Rage 4. Now, how did it fare? Is it worth the wait? Let's find out. Hi guys, DPX here, reviewing today, Streets of Rage 4. Before we get started though, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, and leave a comment, and you'll be a loyal subscriber. The gameplay of Streets of Rage 4 is just how you remember the other 3 Streets of Rage games. Though I've played all of them, I've played significantly more of 2 rather than the others. But this feels like 2. Streets of Rage 2. The game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you are given a certain horde of enemies on a certain screen and you beat them all up, and then you scroll to the next screen and beat up some more enemies. It's simple but fun. You just pull off certain combos to defeat enemies. Sometimes there are also certain weapons you can pick up. There are foods you can get to heal, and you can even customize the foods. I changed the apple to a pizza and the turkey to a burger, in case you wanted to know. There are also certain stuff like boxes that explode. There's like poisonous water, whatever, that you throw on the ground, and there are of course weapons you can pick up. Some weapons even take away an enemy's entire life bar, but you won't be holding the weapon for that long, so it's balanced in that way. It feels really well, and it's a lot of fun. In Streets of Rage 4, you have a nice variety of characters to choose from. You have the returning Axel, Blaze, and Adam, and you have newcomers, Sherry and Floyd. Each of them have their own way of fighting. Axel and Blaze seem to be more all-round fighters. Axel seems to be more into fire, and Blaze seems to be more into like parkour, acrobatics, whatever. Sherry uses an electrical guitar to fight, and it sure is electrical. Floyd uses his robot arms, and Adam uses some weird powers. You also have a lot of unlockables. In fact, Adam is unlockable, as well as many characters with the 16-bit Genesis art style. You can play as pixelated versions of Axel, Blaze, and Adam coming from the first Streets of Rage games. And there are even other pixelated characters that aren't playable otherwise that you can unlock. I'm not going to go down the list of unlockable characters, because there's quite a lot of them. There's a lot. And way more than I was expecting. But that gives the game some replay value, as you don't really unlock them until after you beat the game. So, that's a huge plus. The replay value. Alright, I'm just gonna say it. When I get a game like Streets of Rage, I really don't care all that much about the story. I just want to fight. I just want to fight baddies that are trying to do some bad, and, it's a beat 'em up. I want to beat 'em up. I'm not holding that against Streets of Rage 4. I'm just saying the story didn't really matter to me all that much. However, the story here is that the Y-Twins are corrupting the city. And this takes place 10 years after the third Streets of Rage game, where Mr. X was defeated. I do like how the cutscenes aren't really cutscenes, they're more like pages out of a comic book. It's really cool, but do not get this game for the story. I don't hold anything against the story, it's just, you get this game for beating up enemies. Aside from the story, of course, which is like the main mode of the game, there are other modes too. There's stuff like arcade mode, where it's pretty much the same as the normal story mode, but pretty much you can't get a game over. You get a certain amount of lives, and once you lose all them, you're done. You have to do it in one clean run. So that's pretty interesting. It's also a good way to unlock some characters. There's Battle, where it's basically a one-on-one fighting game like Street Fighter, although it requires a second player. It is pretty fun. There's also Boss Rush mode, which is cool, and I don't think I need to explain Boss Rush mode to you. I'm sure you know what that is. And there's even online co-op, which runs surprisingly well. I didn't receive as many crashes as I thought I might have. So, online is a nice addition to the game. While I have been praising this game for the whole video, and yes, it's a positive review, it does have some smaller flaws. For one, while the music is very catchy, I can't say it's as good as I would have hoped for. Streets of Rage 2, for example, had an awesome soundtrack, and yeah, I probably shouldn't say that this should have been like that game's soundtrack. None of the tunes here are very memorable, so they could have remixed like Go Straight. I fucking love that theme. I also have two very small complaints, and you might see them as nitpicky, but they kind of have to do with the gameplay. One is that there's no sort of checkpoint system. The only game overs I got were against bosses, and there's probably like 2 or 3 within my whole 2 playthroughs of this game. But that meant I had to go through the whole level all over again just to get to the boss. Instead of starting me like right before I get into the boss, I have to go through the whole level again. That didn't happen too many times, as I didn't get too many game overs, but it was pretty frustrating when it did happen. That, and there's no real way to run. There are certain situations where you probably need to run, just like in like any other game you play, but unless I magically tried using each and every single button aside from the one that makes you run, or unless each and every time I tried to use the run button it just didn't work, there's no real way to run. These are just minor complaints, as I had a lot of fun with this game. It's also worth noting that it's very short. I was able to beat the whole game twice the day I got it, but where that's a problem with like a full price $60 game, Streets of Rage 4 gets leeway for being only $25, not $60. I'm not expecting a 30-hour experience. In conclusion, Streets of Rage 4 feels like a nice love letter to the Streets of Rage games and a worthy follow-up too. It reminds me a lot of my times playing Streets of Rage 2 and the less but still significant times I played the other 2 games as well. And while it doesn't match the perfection that is Streets of Rage 2, you know what, I think it might be better than the other 2. That's why I give Streets of Rage 4 a 9 out of 10. If you're interested in this game, do buy it. You know? And you know what? I'm pretty interested to see what Dotemu has next. I heard they brought back Windjammers. Oh, that was a really long time ago. You know, they're a pretty good team. I want to know what else they can make. Maybe not Streets of Rage 5, because don't milk the franchise, of course. But, you know, they got a word from Sega to make this game. Maybe they can get a word from Sega to make other games. So I'm pretty excited for what else Dotemu has to make, and I do recommend this game if you are interested. Anyways, that was my review for Streets of Rage 4. It was a long time coming. Even when this game was announced, I didn't have to wait too long, but it was still like a year and a half I had to wait for this game. So, yeah, Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you even have this game? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like this video, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.